Hi, this is Mike,
And this is Fran.
and this is Mike and Fran Unrehearsed, episode 24. Hey, that's pretty good, Mom, huh? That's real life internet radio at 216thenet.com on Wednesdays at noon. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, we had a great little gathering for Christmas. Turned out really nice. And I took some photos, made a little photo montage out of it, and added that to our little family photo shoot and our Christmas card, because it's always a big deal making the family Christmas card every year. You got to get 5 families in these little photos, and I did it. All right, it took 8 hours. Okay, maybe 5 hours. Okay, maybe 4 hours. But I did it, and it looks great. And we sent one out to everybody. We sent out 100 cards this year, like we usually do. And Mom hand addresses each one and puts a note in there. So it takes its toll, but Mom's a trooper. Right, Mom? That's right. And you did them. You did them all. And she checks them twice, and we get cards back. So we send to those that send to us, and we always add on a few more every year, too. Right?
Right.
That's pretty awesome, Mom. That's awesome. And Christmas was at my sister's house. We got there, and I guess we just did the grab bag after a little bit and opened some gifts, and then we let them enjoy their Christmas dinner with the rest of the family, and then we had our own little Christmas dinner here, right?
Well, we had our masks on all the time. We had our masks on all the time we were there.
Yeah.
With about 11 people. And when they started to eat, we came home.
That's right.
And we had our own little dinner here.
Yeah.
With ham and stuff.
We did.
And watched the midnight mass.
That's right.
And caught up watching the new movie with
George Clooney.
George Clooney on the Midnight Sky.
Yeah, it was on Netflix.
And
It was pretty good.
Yes.
It's pretty good. Yeah, we had a nice Christmas. I hope all of you had a very nice Christmas with your family, and you're looking forward to New Year's coming up this Friday or this Thursday night.
Right.
Wow. So in a few more days, 2020 will be up behind us. How does that make you feel, Mom? Pretty good?
Well, it's just another year, really.
Yeah, but most people are overjoyed that it's finally over.
Well,
And,
you don't know what the new year is going to bring either.
That's right.
2021.
That's right. But their feeling is it could only get better from here on out.
Hopefully. Hopefully.
We have the the coronavirus is still at bay, but what's happening?
Yeah.
We have the antivirus, the what do you call
Vaccine.
it? We have the vaccine, and slowly but surely, I think everybody will be able to get that with the 2 of them that are out there, and this thing will be behind us. So let's cross our fingers and hope and pray that 2021 is a year without coronavirus.
Well, it won't be. We won't be out of this until June.
It'll take a little while.
Everybody's vaccinated and things.
Yeah, but baby steps,
It's a year to look up.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Everything's going to be great in 2021.
Yes.
I have a feeling it's going to be a great year for everyone. All right. Hey, so I wanted to remind you guys to go to www.mikeandfriendradio.com for a list of all of our shows that we've done up till now, where you can replay them and make comments. And then go to the section in the middle there where my friend Joe the Plumber offers 10% discount on any plumbing needs that you might have and free estimates. So he's a great guy. Hey, you got to call a guy for plumbing, you're going to call Joe. Because if you got to go, you're going to call Joe. And also, please remember to check out my friend Wendy Lally, who's offering a free 60-minute coaching session to make the most out of your digital communications and social media. And Wendy Lally has her own show. It's called How to Succeed in Business During a Pandemic on 216 The Net on Mondays at 11:45. And starting in January, it's going to go to a half-hour show. And I'm going to be on one of her shows in January. And we're going to be talking about how you sort of have to use podcasts these days to get the word out about your business, and how you develop those types of podcasts and how you make them work, and how people can benefit from listening to your podcast. So we're doing a radio show, and I'm rebroadcasting on my website, so it's sort of like a podcast on there with a couple of visuals of just some photos with us. It was a real easy way to do it. But I have to say that back in May, when I was going to one of my weekly networking events on Zoom called Cup of Joe, I met Mr. Peter Galt of 216 The Net. And Peter was looking for some new ideas for shows. So because of this COVID-19 pandemic, I was able to go to more meetings from home. I met Peter, and now we're doing our show, Mike and Fran Unrehearsed, and I'm very thankful for that opportunity to be able to do that and share my mom with everyone else who might not have a mom around to talk to, or maybe didn't get along with their mom that way and always wish that they did. So you guys feel free to send in questions to mom, and we'll discuss them and talk about them and have some conversations with you guys on anything you want to talk about. Okay? Sound good? Thank you. Thank you so much. So I've had some folks ask me for some business cards for Mike and Fran Unrehearsed. And actually, if you go to mikeandfranradio.com, you'll see that I post a request for you guys to be sent a 8.5 by 11 document that I use to print my own business cards. And you could print that out and cut them up and hand out little paper business cards to folks if you wanted to do that. So people were asking about that, so I've added that on the website now. Anyway, sound good? So as 2020 is winding down, this will be our last show for the year of 2020. Woohoo! Yay! Terrific! Wait, stop. Okay. Anyway, the next time we talk to you will be next year. That's right, 2021. That's pretty exciting. So hopefully you guys will have a really nice New Year celebration, and you'll be, saying goodbye to 2020 in style and hello to 2021. Sound good? Sounds good to me. So we're going to talk a little bit about the events of 2020, but before we do that, we did get a email sent to the station at 216 The Net. If you go on 216 The Net, you can send an email or any comments directly to the site, which is a real easy way to do it. And the other way would be to send it to mikeandfranradio@gmail.com. But we have a letter here from a student teacher that worked with Mom. And Mom taught school for many, many years and had a lot of student teachers that she worked with as part of their curriculum. They had to be a student teacher for, 6 weeks to 3 months or something like that, depending on the school.
It varied, yeah.
Yeah, it varied. But I have to read you this awesome letter here. Okay, so this is from Nancy Jensen Dombrowski. The subject is mentors. Hi, Fran. 44 years ago, I was privileged to be a student teacher in the classroom of an educator who was creative, caring, and enthusiastic in a way that surely had a positive impact on the little lives she was charged with teaching. She certainly was an influence on me as I moved forward as an educator in the public school system and recently retired. So often during my career, I thought of my mentor and how she taught me to be the innovative, resourceful, and to always expect the unexpected and enjoy the moment. She taught me that being a teacher means that you learn something new every day from the kids. She taught me that being a teacher means listening to your heart first when dealing with kids and then worrying about curriculum later. She taught me to not take myself too seriously and enjoy the silly. She taught me that it's important to respect the teachers that came before us who paved the way for new teachers. I'm so honored to know this awesome lady and have her as my role model and call her my friend. My question is, have you ever had a student teacher who loved you as much as I loved my mentor? Wow, Mom. That's some letter.
Well, I want to say thank you, Nancy. I know you mostly as Nancy Jensen, and you were a bright, energetic young girl who I've remained friends with throughout the years. I remember Nancy well. We became we've stayed friends throughout the years. When she got married, had a family, taught, retired, she was an energetic young person who was ready to have fun with me. And I just really thank you, Nancy, for having such many good memories of me. It has been, I think, 26 years since I've retired. And when my son started asking me about what student teachers did and what we did, I had to rack my brain a bit.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Nancy was one of your student teachers,
Yes,
right?
I had about 14 or 15 student teachers throughout the years.
And do you still write to a lot of them, or do you send holiday
I-
cards?
Christmas time to many, but excuse me, Nancy is one of the closer ones.
Yeah.
And I also hear from my very first student teacher I ever had, Rookie Schifrin, who taught later in our District 59. She lives in Florida now. And I remember when she walked into the class with her knickers and her long earrings.
Wow.
And she taught in District 59. And one day I happened, perchance, to see her lesson plans. And I said, oh, gosh, they're so much like mine. She said, they should be, Fran. You taught me about 20 years ago. So, but I remember Nancy, and thank you very much.
So student teachers are going through their course or the curriculum to become a grade school teacher, or it could be a high school teacher, or any kind of teacher, right?
Well, in their last year, they usually are scheduled to do so many weeks or months, I don't remember how long, of student teaching in a classroom.
So this is typically the first time that they're in front of students in a classroom. I mean, realistically.
I presume so,
Yeah.
yes.
And how did some of the teachers, react to that?
Oh, some were
they-
scared to death to
Uh-huh.
get up in front. Would take a week or so because they were afraid of getting up in front of the little kids or young students. They weren't all little kids.
And so you kind of ease them
And
into it
you
a
had
little
to
bit? I
ease
mean,
into
yeah.
it, and eventually they would take your class while you would monitor. Some were more outgoing than others.
Uh-huh.
Some it took a longer while. They were still a little bit stiff, but some took to it right away. And you get all different types of personalities.
Right.
But
right,
you just
right.
tried, like Nancy said, to have fun, to realize you're working with a human being. And I have often said of my teaching that it was the most exciting job in the world. Every day was different. You
Right.
did not know what was going to happen working with those little human beings.
Right.
And you could have so much excitement in it. And I see Nancy still remembers that.
That's great. That's really great. So the teachers would eventually work up to teaching your whole day of classroom. Is that what it would be?
Yes,
And
yes.
would they have a monitor in there or a supervisor from the school that would?
Once in a while, the school that they were from would come and check on how they were doing and watch, yes.
And did every teacher in your school get student teachers? or
No,
was
I
that
do not
something-
believe everyone did. I believe that just certain teachers would like to do it more. I don't think it was a requirement that every teacher had to have the experience of working with a student teacher.
But
No.
you enjoyed it, obviously.
But I
and you were
liked it.
okay
I
with
liked it. I liked working with them, and it was, like I said again, it was an exciting experience.
Did it take a little bit of the load off of you of teaching during that student teaching time? Were they like maybe correcting papers for you or doing some other stuff that is time consuming
Possibly
for you?
to a
or-
degree, but you were
Yeah.
there all the while.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, and
yeah.
no, it gave you a chance to do other things, and you tried to monitor them. You were helping them and watching the class.
Did you ever come up with like new ideas to do, new ways to do things, or new approaches to things with the student teacher?
Probably.
From-
I
that
do
you
not
can recall?
remember at this time.
Yeah.
I remember we could be a little bit zany. I
Yeah,
mean, you
yeah.
weren't the stiff teacher.
Right.
That was not my personality.
And how did the students react to the student teachers? Did
most of them adored them. Most of them adored them. But some were not as warm and some were not as adored as others.
Oh, really?
It depended on their personalities.
So,
And most of the kids were very receptive.
so they were sad when the student teacher
Yes,
left.
they were.
Yeah.
Yes, they were.
Wow.
Yes.
And you had to come up with some kind of a explanation as to why they weren't there anymore.
No, they knew what student teacher, somebody who was learning to be a teacher, and they were in your classroom. No, it was no big cry down, but it was a change. Kids are very adaptable.
And this was mostly first grade and second graders, right?
No. Well, most of my student teachers were in second grade and first grade.
Okay.
I don't remember if I had one in third, fourth, or fifth. I remember the ones in the lower grades more, in the primary.
I remember you teaching primarily, I think, first and second, primarily.
I taught third grade too.
For the most part.
And fourth grade, which I liked as a level because you could do more with the intelligence of the kids. I was not as crazy about fifth grade because fifth grade was top dog in the school.
Yeah.
And sometimes they could be a little bit smart off more.
Yeah.
I like fourth grade, the age of that child very much.
I see.
But I was mostly second grade and first grade. And taught kindergarten too during summer school.
And you taught special ed too, right?
Yes, I did when I first started.
When you first started.
Yes, I did.
And that was something that not every teacher can do either.
No,
Right?
that was, it was kind of a trial when they'd bring you in little dead animals they picked up on the way to school, and you'd say, okay, recess, we're going to take them out and bury them, and you just took everything in your stride, and...
but things like that would happen in your class, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so tell me about some of the interesting students you had. I remember you telling me that you had a little Japanese student, and his family came from Japan directly to your school without even going home and sat the kid in the class.
That was in fourth grade,
stood there with his eyes like...
he was like 2 inches tall, little short little child.
Do you remember his name?
And the parents, I cannot remember his name.
Okay.
I remember Tomiko was another Japanese girl was in the class. I cannot remember.
So what happened on that day?
And they had a glass in my door.
So
and
you're teaching class.
And tall Italian principal knocks on the door outside the window.
Okay.
And I can see Tony Mastardo standing there.
Yep.
And there's this little Japanese mother and father and this little teeny tot. And they open the door and they sort of push him in. Well, he was scared to death. He couldn't breathe. He'd flown on the plane and he was a little bit asthmatic or something. He was standing there, sort of wheezing.
Oh, boy.
And he was stiff and he was frightened. And here I am, this little kid, and we have 34 kids in this fourth grade class. Yeah. We're all looking at this little boy.
Yeah.
So we walk him over to a desk, and his legs wouldn't bend. He was so scared. So we put him on a chair and bent his little legs, and somebody ran over with some crayons and paper, and then we drew a big red circle on the white paper for the Japanese flag. That was our way of saying hello to America.
Yeah.
And then the principal, Tony, opened the door and said they're going to take him home for the rest of the day. But they had to bring him to school to meet his school teacher before they went to their new home in America. That's how much they were into education.
That's pretty impressive.
Yep.
They had to meet the teacher.
Yes.
So you have to think that they went through some sort of a process to decide to put the kid in that school, maybe. Or maybe he just got transferred to Elk Grove Village and that was it, and this was a school, and let's see who the teacher is.
Probably.
So, they probably didn't have any say-so in there, but they probably gave the American educational system the benefit of the doubt that they would have a nice teacher and they would have a good classroom for him and he would be able to learn.
In some years, I remember the foreign-speaking students went to a morning somewhere else, and then they came in later into the day into your class. Sometimes they came in all day. It all depended.
Well, I imagine they
Yeah.
might not have that much English at
No.
that point, you know?
No, and they come in later in the day to your class. But I taught many of the Japanese students and students from India. I had 3 from India in my class, and just I would get an awful lot because I love to work with them.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and sometimes it was interesting, the different cultures. When I was teaching 3rd grade and I had the 3 people from India, to them, they were 3 different classes. To me, different castes. To me, they were all the same.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
was one that was more up, who was more a scientist, chemist, and one was sort of middle, and one they kind of looked down on. But I remember the one mother
You mean the families or the
from
stu-
India, the
You mean the
caste,
families?
Yeah.
Or the students?
not the students.
Okay,
It was
okay,
from India.
okay,
How
so-
it was in
so-
my classroom.
so
We
how-
were all the same.
How were you able to tell that with the families?
In talking to the
okay,
parents,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
But anyway, to get back to, I had a student conference as one of the mothers, and she came in with a little teeny little boy again in like his little Nehru suit, little collar way up, like the little type of jacket they
Right,
wore.
right.
And this little boy was just a terror.
Yeah.
He went over and grabbed my purse, and I said, no, 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 in America, you do not take people's purses. It was sitting on my chair. Then he went over and spilled this and did that, and his mother was letting him do about everything. Well, he finally went over. We had an exhibit of water fleas.
Oh.
And he went over and he was going to drink some of that water.
Oh.
And I thought, told him to stay away, and I thought, well, good, let him drink it. Then after he drank it, I told his mother that happened to be my water flea science experiment, and he may have drank some water fleas. Oh! Then she held him on her lap for the rest of the conference and did not let him tear up my room. But I remember that
Was
much.
Was he a little bit better behaved in your classrooms after that, or no?
I never saw him. I only saw him for the one conference with the mother.
I see.
I think when she came in the other time, she didn't bring him.
Okay, okay.
He was not too well behaved.
Wow.
But
Well, that's very interesting, ma'am.
but I worked with so many of the people, from other countries, from Lithuania, from Vietnam, China, Japan,
Yeah, that must have
a
been great.
lot, and loved their parents, loved the kids.
Great. And I know you
Yes.
did a great job.
So thank you, Nancy, for remembering me and asking.
Okay, so she asks a question at the end of this little paragraph, Mother. She says, have you ever had a student teacher who loved you as much as I loved my mentor? So,
Nancy,
so how do you,
I think you were one of my strongest. I think, Nancy, that you and I have kept up the closest out of all of the group.
wow.
you know.
And you've had quite a number of
Yes, I
student
say,
teachers.
I don't know whether it's 12, 13, 14 throughout the
But
years.
isn't it interesting to see them grow up and have their own
Yeah.
families and now retiring,
Yeah,
some of them?
yeah. Now, some I only get a note. It just tells me, hi, how are you?
Yeah.
But Nancy, I always got a letter and told me about everything.
That's great.
Her kids growing up and leaving the home and her retiring and all of this.
And
Yes.
she's obviously listened to the show, so that's
yes,
great.
yes.
Because that went out to District
Yeah.
59 to everybody in the school district.
Well, she wasn't in our school
Oh,
district.
oh.
She taught in another district,
Oh, okay.
I believe.
So she had to find out about
yeah,
it another way.
yeah, I
okay.
think.
All right. Well,
Yes.
that's great. That's really great. All right, and now for the year in review. So in January of 2020, we had the Australian bushfires. This was just a horrible, horrible event. While bushfires are fairly common in Australia, apparently this year dry conditions fueled the flames, and the fires raged for nearly 80 days, displacing or killing nearly 3 billion animals.
3 billion.
I have a hard time believing that. How can that possibly be?
And changed the whole
Oh my God!
biodiversity.
They say that devastating biodiversity loss for the country. I didn't know that word existed. Biodiversity. Oh my gosh! Wow, so that was terrible. And then, of course, in March of 2020 was the spread of the novel coronavirus. So before February, cases of the still unnamed virus were largely contained within China. Within the rest of the world, with the rest of the world cautiously, wow, I can't talk. With the rest of the world cautiously observing the country's containment efforts. Slowly but surely, the virus began to spread beyond China's borders. Yes, as we know how that turned out. Oh boy. And later in March 2020 was the lockdown. Lockdown life begins. So from toilet paper hoarding to limits on gatherings, the pandemic's immediate efforts on our surrounding environment became clear as early as March. As daily life came to a standstill, commuter activity in major cities plummeted throughout the month. One interesting aspect was an unintended positive consequence of these shutdowns was air pollution, such as nitrogen oxide emissions, also steeply dropped alongside these restrictions on movement. Oh boy. So we want to clear the atmosphere of pollutants. Stay home. That's what you got to do. So in April, we reached historic U.S. job losses. So after the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a global pandemic on March 11th, unemployment figures soon hit historic proportions. Within a month, 22 million in the U.S. had filed jobless claims. Wow. And in April of 2020, the stimulus packages was announced in the U.S. So on March 27th, I guess, there was a relief package that included $1,200 in direct deposits to individuals and over $350 billion in relief for small businesses and in excess of $100 billion for the U.S. health system. And in May of 2020 started the Black Lives Matter protests. The words, "I can't breathe," were the words quoted by George Floyd on May 25th by the police. And it's a terrible event that sparked over 7,750 Black Lives Matter demonstrations over a 3-month span. Also in May of 2020, the world started working from home with Zoom. Zoom, Zoom, Zoom. So nobody went anywhere, and they went to all their meetings by Zoom. Zoom was used for work, education, and socializing. And in August of 2020, we had a horrible U.S. wildfire season in California and Oregon. Reddish orange skies were literally what it was like. Might have seemed like they were from another world, but this fall there were a common sight across the west coast of North America where air quality reached the hazardous category for long stretches of time. 2020 was the most active year on record for wildfires yet, with California and Oregon being particularly hard hit. Well, I guess some wildfires are caused by natural occurrences like lightning strikes, an overwhelming majority, 85 to 90%, happen because of human causes such as discarded cigarettes and campfire debris. And there was just a lot of dry
It
land
was terribly
out there.
dry.
So,
And
Mom, you wanted to say something
well,
about that?
my sisters live in Portland and Eugene, and they would describe what the sky looked like, that orange, ominous, yellow,
God.
heavy, brown. And also, when you talk about the wildfires, I had, in the Burt Babb family, they had a summer home burned down on the McKenzie River completely.
And in November 2020 was the 2020 U.S. presidential election. How could we forget where this election spending hit over $13 billion, more than twice the amount spent on the entire 2016 election. And President Biden was actually the first candidate to raise over $1 billion, while Trump raised $596 million. December, of course, was COVID-19's third wave. And now in December, we have a global vaccination effort kicking off with Pfizer and Moderna. So hopefully we'll put this thing to rest once and for all. Well, that's it for us, guys. See you next week. Happy New Year!
Goodbye and so long. Happy New Year. Fran.